So I thought, in honor of Disclosure Day, which is the new Steven Spielberg film, it would be fun to talk about the man himself, because we discussed Spielberg a bit on this channel, but I think not enough, really. And I thought it would be kind of fun to talk about some of his more underrated films, because my view is, we all know Steven Spielberg is the film community does. Everyone does. You know, he's like Nolan, like Tarantino. He's one of those directors that people will have heard of. I do think people don't always appreciate how fucking versatile this guy is.
Yeah.
They really think, okay, he invented the blockbuster. But the guy has made an almost excellent film close to every genre.
Yeah.
Which, you know, a lot of people don't talk about. And throughout such a wild filmography, there are quite a few gems that I want to put a spotlight on. Starting from number 5, Empire of the Sun. It was kind of in a period where, like, after E.T., he was kind of trying to prove a point to people. Because a lot of, like, critics, namely Pauline Kael, didn't see Spielberg as a serious filmmaker. They just saw him as a brand. And along with The Color Purple, which, you know, was a bold film for him to tackle, but I feel like he maybe would have been better served by him in his later years, because A Color Purple, you know, it's a black story, and there are a lot of very, you know, tough themes in that book that maybe he didn't, you know, he wasn't as equipped to tackle at the time. So that was, you know, I'd say at the time a lesser, not effort, but less successful. Then Empire of the Sun came out after it, and I think it's a really tremendous film. It has a little mini Christian Bale. And it's set during the Second World War, where it follows this little boy who is separated from his family, and he ends up in a Japanese internment camp, and it just follows him, like, kind of coming to grips with the realities of war. Wow. And some people have described the film as quite sentimental, which I think, you know, that can be what you make it, because Spielberg is very sentimental.
Yeah, he's always been very sentimental.
Yeah, and that could be a positive or negative for people. And that is, you know, especially with the end of Empire of the Sun, that sentimentality very much rears its head. But I don't think this film is just, I mean, film fans will know it, but it's not spoken about enough amongst his war films.
I've never heard of it.
It's just a very, like, kind of gentle story with, again, great cast. John Malkovich is in there. And it's with some really striking imagery. It's a very, like, interesting little film, because you see, like, the devastation of World War II all through the eyes of this child.
Wow, okay.
And Spielberg has always approached films with a very, like, kind of childlike wonder.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting seeing him employ that lens within this film. So it is one that people should definitely check out for sure. And then at number 4 is one that we have mentioned on this channel, War of the Worlds, which, again, more people need to see.
Yeah, I love War of the Worlds.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic. I mean, even if, you know, maybe not everything works like the sun, yeah, he could be a frustrating character. I think what this film does so effectively is just, you know, threading in that real, like, kind of, I guess, post 9/11 paranoia, because it's really interesting to look at it from, like, that lens.
Context, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Because really, yes, it's about, you know, our fear of the unknown, but it's just how a more of America and the world was feeling at that time.
Yeah.
And it's like, what if you took that mindset and applied it to an extraterrestrial threat?
I mean, it's people would label it like an apocalypse disaster movie, obviously, for good reason, but I actually think it's one of the best horror movies I've ever seen. It's a very, very, very scary movie. I don't know if it's just because I watched it when I was a kid, but it still hits when I see it now. I still think that it's just as effective. I mean, the scenery, the imagery, the graphic nature of this movie, like, it's crazy considering it. I think it was like a 12A or something like that.
Yeah,
it's really dark.
It's
really
mad. And this is why I don't like when people say Spielberg can't do, you know, like, grittiness.
Yeah, no,
I think it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Because when you watch this film, and especially obviously Saving Private Ryan, of course.
Huge masses of people, crowds of people bombarded in this space, you know, and the hysteria that comes along with that, the chaos, the chaotic nature, the visceral nature of watching that. It's a masterclass. Because I don't think, I mean, look, a lot of people love this movie, but I wouldn't say it's, like, critically acclaimed. A lot of people really think it's a weak movie.
Yeah, I mean, some people were really shitting on it when it came out as well.
And I think it's when people said, like, it's kind of got a bad ending, or it's rushed, or when they said they go to, when, you know, the second half where they go into, like, with Tim Robbins.
Yeah, that's That's right, yeah.
And they go into like the basement.
Yeah.
And they say that that's like slow or like I love that. I love that whole sequence of scenes where they're stuck in the basement. I love the point of view that you get from that. Like you're hearing the world around them and you're not being able to see it because you're seeing it from the family's point of view, stuck underground, you know. And Tom Cruise is forced to be quiet with this crazy guy.
Yeah, I mean, considering the amount of screaming he does throughout
maybe
this film, that's very, you know.
Maybe that's why people found it frustrating. But no, did you find that annoying? Or?
No, not at all. And yeah, I really, I enjoy the Tim Robbins stuff.
Yeah.
Because also it gives the film like a quieter moment.
Yeah.
And not to say, the louder moments aren't fantastic. I mean, that's why this film succeeds showing us the mass hysteria. Yeah. The fact we're able to take a moment, with the, these characters. And just to like really hear how they're processing the situation, I think is great. And at number 3, I've got The Fabelmans. And I see this as being underrated in like 2 ways. The first way is that a lot of people maybe, don't necessarily know about it, even though it was quite recent. It was quite a kind of it was an big awards contender, but maybe not a lot of people will have like heard about it.
I heard of it vaguely, but I never watched it.
Then also underrated in the sense that when people do talk about it, some people rank it quite lowly. And I think that's pretty harsh because this goes back to the theme of sentimentality. This film is probably the most sentimental thing it's ever made, but it works because this is basically his origin story and showing you how he views the world through cinema.
Right.
And the interesting thing is, because they're basically like, it's about a family, the Fabelmans, which is based on Spielberg's parents. I mean, you can call the character Steven Spielberg.
Right.
Sammy Fabelman is a young Steven Spielberg.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, self-insert. The interesting thing is, he had this story in his mind for a very long time, and he actually waited until his parents had passed away to tell it, because he thought that possibly they would have found it too upsetting.
Wow, okay. Wow.
And I think the fact that he was so vulnerable in that regard really adds a lot to this film. Because, spoilers by the way, Spielberg's mother cheated on his father with their best friend.
Wow.
And in the film, Sammy kind of doesn't know how to deal with that, and he kind of tries to distract himself through making films, through the camera. And that's exactly what Spielberg did. And I just think, some people need to, kind of roll. I mean, for me anyway, I roll with the sentimentality of this film. And to make it like this late in your career, I think is amazing. Actually, there is one fantastic scene that has a cameo from Mr. David Lynch. And he has this whole line, when you're framing a shot, if the horizon's at the top of the screen, it's boring as shit, or something like that. Fantastic scene that a lot of film bros will appreciate.
Yeah.
If you are a film bro, this film is like, it's hard not to recommend.
Yeah, and you don't mind sentimentality.
Yeah. And at number 2, this is quite an out of like left field choice if you know Spielberg. And some of you may not have even heard of this film. The Post. Now, The Post on the surface does seem like a film that a once great director, not to say that Spielberg was once great, he's always been great, would make in their later years. Like a very typical like awards kind of bait drama. And that's what I thought before watching it. But I have to say, this film has the sauce, which did really shocked me. I did not expect it to. It's about the Pentagon Papers. And this was like just like, well, not even after the Vietnam War. It was like right at the height of it. And someone had obtained the Pentagon Papers, which had shown America's involvement in the Vietnam War. And the film revolves about whether or not to publish the papers. What I like about it is that this film is set, in quite a lot of dull locations. You spend half the time, in people's houses or in a newsroom. And these are just, again, it doesn't sound very exciting. It sounds a bit boring. But through, shout out to Janusz Kaminski, Spielberg's longtime DP. Like, Spielberg is always great at moving the camera. But every time you go into this newsroom, the camera's always moving. It's always a really great tracking shot. And then through the score, like an underrated score from John Williams. I mean, it's known that he cooks with whatever film he touches. But through like those elements, it's so engaging. Like these are very endearing characters.
Yeah.
Which you just you wouldn't expect. Like for a story like this is a film that would normally get by on its premise alone.
Yeah.
For a certain audience. Like, okay, it's a historical drama. Your dad will love it. Yeah. It's about a really interesting time in America's history. but it's so, through every element, it's so engaging.
Yeah.
Really pleasantly surprised. And at number 1, this may or may not be a surprise, but there was never going to be any other choice. It's Catch Me If You Can, which some people just still don't know about. I really think it is Spielberg's like undisputed gem. I love that film so much.
Yeah, I love Catch Me If You Can.
It's excellent.
As soon as I watched it, it's one of those movies that you just kind of, it's quite cozy. It's quite a cozy movie, but which is surprising considering like the story that it's tackling. Like Frank Abagnale's story is so interesting, but what Spielberg does with it, he manages to round it up in such a unexpectedly wholesome way. Considering it is basically just a story about a con man.
Yeah, like on the surface, it's a fun crime caper. Like this film has a great premise already.
It's got a great premise, but there's so much more to it.
Yeah,
its identity comes from just those great scenes of the cat and mouse play that happens between Leonardo DiCaprio and Tom Hanks's characters.
Hand ready. Yeah, hand ready.
I love Tom Hanks in this movie.
Yeah, I don't know how he makes that accent work, but he does. He really does.
You can tell it's a fictionalized version of his story told within a very confident director's vision.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not like it's supposed to design to tell you exactly what happened with Frank Abagnale. It's designed to be a more well-rounded thing. Like there's so many more themes that it tackles than simply his story.
Yeah, and I think that is Spielberg's. That's his secret power when he is tackling a subject matter that may or may not be out of his comfort zone and finds a great angle to hone in on. It's excellent because I describe this film in the best way as like deceptively deep because it's a fun premise. No matter who was directing this, they could probably make it work just by the fact it's very fun, it's interesting, it's a cool little premise. But I think the fact that this is Spielberg and kind of going back to the Fabelmans and for a lot of his work, daddy issues, that's the big thing. Spielberg has a lot of complicated feelings about this father. That is the heart of the film.
Yeah, 100%.
Because interestingly, Frank Abagnale and Tom Hanks' character, Hanratty, they're both lost souls. Really, and I think that's a theme of the film that you don't really expect. And even not that Christopher Walken is bad, even though he's become a bit of a punchline, however unintentionally. He's great in this film.
Yeah,
the scenes between him and Leonardo DiCaprio are really effective.
Oh my god, the character
really
dynamics just pours through the scene. That's the thing. It's such a kind of theatrical movie. Like it's so. The cinematography is so sweet and so kind of vibrant, and especially like during the Christmas scenes, it reminds me of like a really cozy period of time where and yet it's kind of the story's got nothing to do with Christmas. You know what I mean? It's got nothing to do with that period, and yet I really associated with that season.
Yeah.
Things like that where it's just like he could have just let the story, tell itself, but he decided to make so many smart choices to really elevate it in a way that it does kind of dress it up in a beautiful theatrical way that only really Spielberg could have done, I think.
Yeah, and the fact that he made it really into a personal film, I think it's probably one of his most personal films in a odd way.
Yeah.
Which you wouldn't, because you think like Schindler's List and a lot of those other films, but no, Catch Me If You Can really is like up there as like one of those Spielberg films where I think, this is you bearing your heart and soul.
I never thought about it like that in regards to his dad.
Yeah. Oh no, 100%.
Wow.
Yeah.
What would you say is like your ultimate favorite Spielberg
ultimate
film? Not just a gem, not just an underrated.
Just a gem. Okay, I would have to say, I think it has to be Schindler's List.
Yeah, okay.
It's his ultimate achievement for me. The fact that he did that, he did Jurassic Park in between Schindler's List.
It's just crazy.
It's insane. Yeah, I mean, just even thinking about that film, I get chills because the way it tackles that subject matter of the Holocaust.
I think that film with me, everything kind of does pale in comparison to that one. Just in regards to what it tackles and just how confidently and how beautifully, how perfectly it just tells the story and just captures every single moment. absolutely beautifully. I'll put it out there, guys, and I know people won't like it, but I've never been a major fan of Jurassic Park. Look, when I was a kid, like, yeah, it's a great movie. It's not
And,
something...
and groundbreaking.
Yeah, groundbreaking.
Visual effects.
Oh,
I mean,
absolutely. Yeah, but it's just not one that I would go back to.
Yeah. But I mean, it is a hell of a lot better than The Lost World, which is definitely, that's a blunder in Spielberg's film.
Oh, Jesus
Lost
Christ.
World is really...
Wait, did he do The Lost World?
He did do Lost World. A lot
Is
of
that
people
the
don't
second
realise
one?
that. Yeah, because it's just not as good. You're like, it's Spielberg. Yeah, he did do...
Oh, shit, yeah.
Yeah, he did Lost World. Yeah.
Yeah,
which is which is a shame. I mean, I get, look, it's not Jurassic. I mean, I don't know if you've seen Jurassic Park 3. Terrible.
No.
It's very funny though. But what is it about Jurassic Park that maybe you still like can't quite connect to as like compared to other people?
It's just not a movie I would watch again. Like, there's something about Spielberg that, like, I truly admire him so much. Like, but when it comes to his back catalogue, I don't find myself actually going back to him that much. I know that might sound surprising, and Jurassic Park is certainly the bottom of the list of the ones that I go back to.
Jaws, man, surely you go back to Jaws.
Jaws is great. Jaws is probably one of the best fucking movies ever. Like, you know, in regards to movies, not films. This is something that Tarantino said as well.
Oh, okay.
It's probably the best movie ever, which I'll agree with in regards to just in every measure it delivers, you know, in every aspect as a movie. You know, a popcorn movie that delivers in the most...
the thing is, it's the popcorn movie.
Exactly.
It is the blockbuster.
Yeah.
So you can't even like be angry at it to be say, look at what it started. It was the OG, and it does it so well. And also, given how much of a fucking nightmare the production of that film was, it's amazing what he achieved.
Exactly. So I find myself really admiring these things, but I think most of it does come from that era where he was truly, absolutely delivering and cooking. Was before my time, I think.
Both our times.
Both our times, you know.
Both our times.
And sometimes I find it hard to truly like absorb the brilliance of it, because unfortunately I am someone who has consumed later things that have... so it's not as revolutionary to me and groundbreaking. And I feel like with some filmmakers, no matter how old their movies are, I can go back to them and I can see why they were so groundbreaking at the time. But I'm at an age where I perhaps don't appreciate them as much as I should, but it's just something that I can't fix. And I do remember having real vivid memories of Jurassic Park and being terrified and being captivated by it. But it's just not something that I feel like it's had its time, and it's not something I would go back to and appreciate.
Interesting.
It's the same with E.T. as well. Like they're amazing movies, and maybe it is that kind of that over sentimental side of it. I mean, there's so much horror.
Yeah,
in Jurassic
I think
Park.
that's why you can be like Marmite.
Yeah.
But then when it works, that is his, that's his golden touch, the sentimentality.
Absolutely.
Because really, I mean, watching the guy is so passionate.
Yeah.
And they often said that, like, and I think this is really like, I don't like when people say, his films can be childish, but he just has a very pure view of cinema.
Yeah.
And you see that throughout, his golden era. And I think that's great. E.T., Jaws. This is like just the eyes of a guy who loves cinema and really understands cinema.
It is truly
deeply.
It's almost dreamlike in the sense that he is capturing through the eyes of a child who went to the cinema when he was young and became enthralled with the medium, and then grew up and tried to capture that feeling that he got in the cinema when he went with his dad when he was a young boy.
Yeah.
And I think there is no better filmmaker out there that you could truly say achieved that than Steven Spielberg.
Yeah.